Okay, we are live. Yes, we are live.
All right, it's Steve and it's Mark, and we're this is our weekly Thursday meeting, and we have the honor today to be with Amir Frank of Matterport. And so, Amir, I'm gonna let Mark introduce him because y'all two know each other better probably than I do. I'm kind of excited to sit in and listen to all this today.
Yeah, Amir. So once again, I express my gratitude and appreciation for you to join us. I know that you're extremely busy out there evangelizing for Matterport. And by way of introduction, I'm going to hand it over to you. I don't want to steal your thunder. Would you mind introducing yourself? Tell us who you are, what you do, and then maybe a little bit brief of Matterport itself.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for having me. This is really great, and always happy to talk about Matterport. That's a no-brainer for me. So I have been with Matterport for I think it'll be 7 years in 5 days. So we're at 7 years. Wow. It's been a while. I started with customer support and just got to know the camera and the system in general very well through basically all the problems customers were having. So I got to understand that way. I also, just kind of with a background in photography, love the product and use it myself as much as I can whenever I have a chance. So got to understand the system from all different angles. I moved into marketing and evangelizing Matterport more about 3 years ago, do all the, many of the webinars, as well as how-to videos on how to use the product. And that's about my...
A few of those.
Sorry, say that again?
I've watched a few of those. They're very informative and instructional. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad somebody's getting to use them. So that's great. And Matterport has been around since 2011. So we're almost 12 years old now. And we definitely cut our teeth in the real estate market, but have since kind of expanded and gotten to do many, many other things that their job, whoever's using it, the job is just made so much more efficient by not having to be on site. That's basically the kind of the fundamental of Matterport is, being able to very easily and quickly scan in 3D and 2D, and we can get into that, a physical structure or location so that anybody around the world can experience that without actually having to go there. And what that means in different industries, like I said, real estate is a big one.
And I've seen Mark already, do a couple of them for some local restaurants here. It's pretty cool. He did it for us here where we opened up our new office space. So, agents that are looking to just come what we're about now with our space here, they can check it out before you walk through the door.
Right.
So, I mean, it's exciting for us to just send to other agents and say, hey, check us out. We're not your traditional real estate office. We're almost like a Starbucks with a conference room.
Right. Yeah. And then to the point you said you cut your teeth in real estate back in 2011 and forward. Perhaps just touch on some of the industries that you have seen that have adopted Matterport, its technology, and the fact that people can be in a place virtually without physically being there. So what are some of the industries that you've seen successes and growth in?
Many including AEC, so architecture, engineering, construction is a very big one. I'm seeing people in insurance using it for, again, the same sort of reason. With insurance, for example, fire disaster, things like that. Natural disasters happen, especially with fire. There's a lot of chemicals and whatnot that happen after a fire. You want to limit the number of people who go to that location. So same thing again there. You have somebody go and scan it. That way, not everybody has to be on site.
Right.
What else? Commercial real estate is also a big one. And again, not just for marketing purposes, but also companies using it to basically look into their portfolio of assets, right? Like think about like a Walgreens, for example. They've got a lot of locations, lots and lots of locations all over the country. To be able to have a group of people that are usually located in one area in the country, not just everywhere, be able to look at all of that, all of their assets, and better understand the inventory. And I don't mean like the lipsticks and shampoos on the shelves, but the shelving itself, chairs, furnishings, things like that, desks, all that sort of things. Take account for anything like that. They can more efficiently consolidate, more efficiently plan. New establishments, retail locations are using it for branding. So if it doesn't even have to be national, but I'll just use something like Guess as an example. We had them on a webinar. They have a headquarters. They'll make a change to the brand and the way it looks in their headquarters, and they want that mimicked throughout every Guess store around the world. And so it's much more easy and efficient to relay that information of what that looks like by providing a digital twin, as opposed to just having some pictures and notes in a notepad, basically.
Right. So I have to ask you, you just mentioned it, and thank you for mentioning that, a digital twin. This is not a common phrase used by people out there. What is a digital twin?
Good question, and unfortunately not a very easy thing to answer, because every industry we have found has its own definition for what a digital twin is. And on top of that, you've got major research establishments like Gartner and Forrester Research, who say, put their stake in the ground and say, no, this is what a digital twin is. So everybody's kind of got their own definition. I think it begins with having you have a physical place, right? A structure of some kind. And once you kind of create a digital copy, a replica of that in my mind is your digital twin. It does need to be, more than just some, panoramas. It's got to have, the measurement. It's got to have all the information that is in the physical twin needs to also be in the digital twin. In my mind, that's how I define a digital twin. Your listeners may have a different opinion, but that's to me the fundamental. That's where it begins, and like I said, every industry has their own. So for example, just to throw this out there, construction and architecture may say that no, there has to be this bi-directional communication between the physical and the digital twin for it to be considered a digital twin. Maybe I don't know. I just see it as, if you've got the 3D and the 2D, what I see and experience by being in a physical space, if I can replicate that in a digital environment, to me, that's a digital twin.
Got it. Yeah, I like that.
And I'll say, I like the floor plan with Matterport. I like now the way that, you can interact with the video as well, because the thing that always scared me was that sometimes people see dimensions and they automatically rule it out because of what they see as far as numbers. But sometimes a 10 by 10 might feel bigger if it's an open back end area. It might feel like 10 by 12. And the video allows it not to feel, to either let you know it is A, too small, or B, it's bigger than what it feels. It feels bigger than what the footprint actually reads.
Right.
That's been a nice thing that I've seen, that Matterport's been able to interact those two features together.
Yeah, I think to that point,
much more intuitively understand the size of a space and how it's
that's what I was about to say. Yes, you can get a full feel of the dimensions, the depth, and whereas unfortunately 2D images are depthless, right? They just flat. They may have a certain element of dimension to it, but there's no real dimension. You can't when you are virtually online looking at something, take out your measuring rule across your laptop screen and measure the dimensions of a space. Whereas you can do that with a digital twin, with the Matterport platform, online, real time. You can get a real close estimate of the dimensions of a space. And I think for many people that are potentially relocating, we in real estate, I know when we had to move from a different country to here, there are people moving from different states, different cities that are not local. And they may be asking the question, well, I wonder how big that space is, because we've got a dining room suite that sits 12 people. Will it fit in the space? because if it doesn't fit in the space, we may as well offload it and sell it and buy something when we get down there, rather than commuting with that furniture, and only to find out when you come here that it doesn't fit. But in terms of capturing, I just want to talk about capturing the spaces. Is it relatively easy to capture a space? Maybe we can just touch on that and also talk about the different technology stacks, pieces of hardware that can be used to capture spaces into 3D. Is it easy?
Yeah, I think it's very simple. I don't think I have not seen a system that is more intuitive and as simple to kind of create the completed digital twin. With Matterport, you put a camera down, sits on a tripod. It's a terrestrial scanner, and you press a button on whatever connected device you have, whether it's your phone or a tablet. The camera spins around, assuming it's one of the Matterport cameras. If you're using a 360 camera, we try to be as camera agnostic as possible, so you can have a wide variety of different capture devices. And once that full 360 is captured, whether the camera is turning or not, that then information is automatically transferred to the mobile device. It's put kind of in place. Each position is like a piece of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. And every time you pick up another piece and trying to transfer it over to your Matterport app, the app automatically puts it where it needs to be. Right. So it's doing 99% of the work for you. If anyone listening is coming kind of like photography, it's the difference between a DSLR and a point and shoot. Essentially, a Matterport camera is a point and shoot. All you have to do is press a button, and you get a map. You see kind of the black areas are the information that hasn't been captured yet. It's just empty. So you just move in that direction and scan again, pick up another piece of the puzzle, and it'll automatically put it in place. I think it's very intuitive. And I think, the system then kind of just, like I said, pieces everything together and spits you out a digital twin that then you can go and put the icing on with things like Matter tags and whatever.
Right. And then just to speak to the point, I mean, we've had this conversation before. I love my tech. Yeah. So here I've got the Ricoh Theta Z1. Great camera for quick in and out and small spaces. I find that this camera really works well. And like you said, with your mobile device, you put this onto Wi-Fi, and then you take your phone and you start shooting away. And the Matterport platform, as you shot, it says it processes and it says ready to move the camera. And then within a couple of feet, you move, and slowly but surely you blank out the black spaces, right? So that is one camera that I have. And this is just for people that are going to see this. Another one is the Insta360. I think you've got one of these too, don't you, Amir?
I have one of all of them.
Great, yeah, great camera. But I also use this for taking video. It's got great stabilization, and so outside of using it for capturing virtual spaces, and then my Rolls Royce. But this is the workhorse, my Matterport Pro 2. Now, obviously, you've updated this recently with the Matterport 3. Care to just explain what the core differences are between the Matterport Pro 2 and 3?
Yeah, for sure. So the Pro 3 is a slightly different camera. Let's start with the Pro 2. The Pro 2 uses infrared technology in order to see surfaces in the environment. Both are what we call active depth sensing cameras. So they are actively looking and measuring points in the environment. And once you have millions and millions of points, you start to really understand the environment and fully flesh it out. The Pro 2 uses infrared, as I mentioned, which is great, but it does compete with something like daylight. Daylight from the sun also has infrared in it. So that's where, someone using the Pro 2 may start running into issues. There are, best practices for scanning, when there is daylight, and that's pretty much avoid it, or just, avoid daylight in general, but scan, when the sun is at the horizon or, below the horizon is ideal. Like civil twilight is what it's called. It's still have enough daylight to capture a good photo, but you're not competing with the infrared. The Pro 3 uses LiDAR. So that's a laser. It's a slightly different technology and way of seeing surfaces. It's still, measuring a point, but it does it by shooting a laser out, measuring how much time it takes for that laser to come back. And that's how it knows. So it's a slightly more accurate in terms of measurement accuracy. And because it's not using infrared, it's using lasers, it's happy as a clam to be outdoors. It has no problem being both outdoors and indoors. No issues there.
I've actually seen some of the outdoor 3D captures that have been taken of I think it was one of Airbnb's outside. It looked like a loft in the woods. I don't know if you've seen that one, Amir, and it just looks beautiful. Because obviously the light doesn't challenge the Pro 3. And maybe one day I'll get the Pro 3, but for now the Pro 2 for real estate is a great camera.
I think maybe we can just touch. I was just going to say, I think for real estate, where most of what you're doing is indoors, the Pro 2 is absolutely brilliant. And for anyone listening who's got the Pro 2, just because there is a Pro 3 doesn't mean, your camera's obsolete and no longer does what it does. It still does the same job very, very well. It's a brilliant camera.
Right. So moving a little bit onto real estate, because that's obviously our domain of expertise. Let's just talk about real estate and using Matterport or similar platforms to convert listings into immersive 3D virtual tours. I'm going to caveat this, and fortunately I can say this because I am in real estate. So I'm not expecting you to agree or even disagree. But what I'm finding is that the adoption of many people out there is still very slow in terms of adopting this technology and leveraging it for the promotion of a listing. Point number one. Point number two is that they are still defaulting to utilizing static depthless 2D images. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that 2D images, there's no place for them, but more is not necessarily better. Some listings I've seen recently where there are 120 pictures for a 4-bedroom house. It just doesn't make sense. So putting this all together, my question to you is, do you think it's possible to not have a single 2D image and still promote a listing effectively just with a virtual tour?
So whether it's possible or not, I think it's possible, but I still, in studies that we've done ourselves, based on a 1,000-person focus group, they still rank photos as the number one thing that they're looking for.
Okay.
It's not something that we're looking to compete with, but just something that we're looking to kind of enhance. And, photos, I can't say it's never going to go away for listings. Maybe one day, but I don't think in the near future. Photos are just kind of like that's where you start. That's just step one. Every listing has to have photos. But I think if you want to much better qualify your leads, showing them, and because the thing is with photos, and we touched on this, everyone's using a very wide angle lens. They're touching up. They're using techniques like flambient photography, HDR, all that stuff, which is great and makes things look really wonderful. But do you want the lead to come into the place, whatever home it is, and be disappointed, or do you want them to be like, oh, this is kind of what I expected, and I just wanted to see these few details that I wasn't able to maybe pick up by looking at it through a Matterport. So it just depends on, I think, the agent and what they're looking for. If they feel like it's my job to sell the house, or how they look at, I guess, their job in the whole process. But my feeling is that with Matterport, not only do you get to better qualify your leads, you get to increase the number of qualified leads, because as you mentioned, when you're moving more than 45 an hour minute drive away, it gets complicated, right? You're limiting the amount of time you can be out there looking, And I know for a fact that a lot of people are filtering their search results in sites like Zillow, Redfin, by those that just have a 3D virtual tour. So only show me 3D virtual tours. I don't want to even consider it if it doesn't have, because I don't want to waste my time, looking at all this stuff that may not even be right for me.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, even in our Georgia MLS, there is actually a selection to actually only show me as an agent when I'm searching within the MLS. I can actually search for properties and listings that only have got 3D virtual tours, and unfortunately, there's still just a handful. And I like your point about pictures, because I'm an amateur photographer myself, and there was a listing that we did recently, and the backyard was really beautiful. It really was, with the fireplace and the pergola and the barbecue looking over the lake, and the pictures really enhanced those features, right? So, and the front elevation and the side, etc., with an aerial shot of drone. And then there was the Matterport virtual tour, which really just stepped it up a notch, because now people were able to see the outside with the static 2D images and get that nice warm fuzzy feeling. The drone footage, which we embedded into the Matterport tour, right, which was linked from YouTube into the Matterport tour, and then obviously people can virtually walk through this home. And I think when that starts becoming the norm, because that's what I'd like to see. Every listing that we do,
that's what we do,
always has a virtual tour. It doesn't matter if the home is a hoarder, and if it's all built, because ultimately people probably still have to come and look at the home physically anyway. So why not give them the virtual tour right up front, so they can make an informed decision as to whether they want to go there or not. So every listing of ours will have a virtual tour, plus a selected handful of images to enhance certain features of the listing. But just there are some other benefits that perhaps you can just touch on for having a virtual tour in real estate. For example, 24/7.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've definitely seen this, and I'm sure anyone in the real estate industry knows that people are going to want to visit more than just one time. They start their tour. No one anymore reaches out to a real estate agent before having ever looked at any listings and says, okay, show me some properties. Myself included, everybody, I think, first goes to Zillow, goes to Redfin to see what's out there, what's in the market. So I've already seen, and I then, go to my agent and say, hey, I want to take a look at this. And they may come up with more stuff that I haven't, noticed or picked up on to look at before we go out. But I definitely want to see that before, making a decision whether I want to spend my time going to that property. Then after being there, I'm going to want to go back there again, and more than just once again. I'm going to want to, visit it multiple times. So having a virtual tour allows me to, visit that site again, compare, contrast. It's not only my decision. Usually, I'm obviously, my wife and I would be in on this together, as an example. So, we want to both kind of go through every one of these several times. And so having that 24/7 kind of open house ability makes that possible.
What I was about to say. I tell people this is a way that you have your house as an open house, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You always have an open house. Yeah, so it doesn't
uninterrupted.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to
leave your house.
3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, the agent's not going to be like, okay, Saturday and Sunday, go find something to do because I need to show this house.
Right.
You can still be there. It's still your house. You're living in it, right? So yeah, I think it's immensely beneficial in that sense.
Well, you don't have just strangers coming walking through either. I mean, they are, but they're not, right? They're not physically in your house. Right. So for me, I think it's the best way and the safest way to do open houses.
Yeah, I agree with that. And here's another thought about the 24/7 open house and having a virtual tour is that there's a little bit of a mind shift change that needs to take place in how people leverage technology and consult. So I use this as an example, and Amir here is talking that he would, chat with his wife. Yeah. But let's say his wife is in Atlanta and you are on the West Coast, East Coast, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You say, hey, hun, let's just quickly go online and
Yeah.
both virtually walk through this house together and just chat about it.
Yep.
Okay. You're on different locations.
Yep.
Now, when we were in South Africa, we had to fly people over from California area to here to spend a week looking at homes. They had to FaceTime with us, and we were 7-hour different time zone. Now, if every home that we want to look at had a virtual tour, we could have very quickly saved them time, money, by virtually going to the homes and saying, hey, mom, dad, that house doesn't work for us. That kitchen's way too small, etc., etc. And I think it's a great way to use virtual tours to consult, not only for buyers agents, going online quickly with the buyers, building rapport with them, but also for the selling agent, because sometimes buyers will contact the selling agent directly, and they can use it, go online quickly on a Zoom meeting, share the screen, and do a consult.
I like what you're talking about there with him. If it, just like we're talking about, if you want to talk to your wife and you're at work and she's at home, you can both go. I mean, you might be in the same city, but you can both do it at the same time, together. So I mean, that's actually, if you think about it, that expedites the whole process.
Yeah, it's very efficient.
And that's kind of the bottom line, right? Is making it more efficient, because I'm saving not only time but also cost in travel.
Right. Good. So Amir, we're nearly near the end. And once again, thank you so much for so far. But I know people would be interested in learning a little bit more about Matterport. Does Matterport offer any services like capturing services, so that if there are people out there that want to transform this space into a digital twin 3D model virtual tour, can they do this?
Absolutely. There's a few ways that you can do this. You don't have to do this yourself if you're not, as tech savvy or into the process itself. You just want to focus on, real estate and selling. That's great. Matterport does have a capture services network of, capture techs. So you can definitely reach out to them. If you just go to, Matterport.com, you can find them. But also there, you can find Facebook groups, and more than likely, if you're an agent with a broker, you're going to find Matterport as an option, in your marketing package. I would say, But yeah, there are lots of networks. Matterport isn't the only network. There are Matterport service provider networks out there. So I think if you just Google it, you should be able to find it, no problem. But like I said, Matterport, we do have our own. And if you're in a major metropolitan area across pretty much the entire country, no problem.
Right. And there are resources on Matterport.com. And then in terms of learning, if somebody did want to adopt this technology like myself and learn, do you have any webinars like shop talks or something like that people can attend and learn? Because this is really exciting tech, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. 100%. We've got lots of content online. If you go to Matterport's YouTube page, you can find it there. You can also go to Matterport.com and find some information there as well in a video format, that a lot of how-to content that I've done. We do have plenty of webinars. If you go to Matterport.com and look at the resources, you'll see the events and webinars page there. Shop Talk webinars, as well as other webinars that we talk, with professionals who are doing this, So experienced individuals who not only are scanning for Matterport, but also have created their own businesses based on Matterport.
Right. Last question here. You host the shop talks generally. What is your next shop talk, and when is it?
Next shop talk is May 3rd. It's the first Wednesday of every month. So does that fall on May 3rd? I'll check my calendar. Beginning of May, you can't miss it. It's with one of our platform partners called Zuant, and they focus on lead gen. So this is actually kind of a big deal. They have a really, really cool product that goes kind of on top of the Matterport platform, and you can, along with your client, tour and kind of walk through the environment and check it out together, and also helps generate leads. Basically, you know, to in order to see this virtual tour, you know, give me your contact information, and that way you can reach out to them and check that out.
Wow, I'll be on that one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Amir.
Yes, thank you, Amir.
I appreciate your time, and
My
we
pleasure.
on the
Thank you
30-minute
all.
mark. Yeah, that was extremely informative. Steve, anything more from you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. I actually learned a lot from it just listening today. So thank you.
Yeah.
No
Thank you,
problem.
Amir. And
We'll see you soon.
we'll be in touch.
All right. Take care. Thanks again.